Hey everyone, welcome back to the Incredible India podcast series. I'm Sam.
And I'm Taylor.
And today we have a really fascinating deep dive.
It is. We've got a challenge from a listener, actually. They sent us a whole stack of sources proposing, well, a totally different philosophy for traveling in India, one that sort of pushes past that standard bucket list approach.
Absolutely. And the mission for us is really clear. Figure out why that typical tourist checklist can leave you feeling so exhausted, like you've kind of missed the point.
And then on the flip side, how a more genuine, context-driven understanding can turn that fatigue into real curiosity. It's about getting beyond just checking boxes.
Right.
That's the core idea in all the research we looked at. For so many people, India gets boiled down to, the big 4 or 5 things: the Taj Mahal, the forts in Rajasthan.
Perilous backwaters, Varanasi.
Exactly. And look, those places are magnificent. No one's denying that. But the sources argue that when you make the trip only about that list, you just flatten the meaning.
It's like seeing a single amazing photograph from a film, but having no idea what the plot is. You get the image, but you completely miss the narrative.
That's a great way to put it. You turn a 5,000-year-old civilization into just a sequence of photo stops?
And that compression, I imagine, is what leads to that feeling we hear about all the time.
Oh, yeah. The #1 complaint.
India is overwhelming. You hear it constantly. It's too intense, too difficult, too exhausting. So is that just a stereotype, or is there a real, almost scientific reason why people feel that way?
Well, this is where the sources get really interesting. They bring in a cognitive science perspective that sort of reframes the whole thing. The argument is that the label is just wrong.
Wrong how?
India isn't inherently difficult, it's information dense. And that one little distinction, it changes everything.
Okay, information debt. So this isn't an emotional problem, it's a processing problem.
Precisely. We looked at these environmental psychology studies, and they found that stress, that feeling of being overwhelmed, it doesn't actually come from novelty. We like new things. Sure.
It comes from unstructured novelty.
Unstructured novelty. Okay, break that down for us. What does that actually look like on the ground in, say, a busy market in Delhi?
Okay, think of your brain as a processor, right? It's incredibly efficient. When you see something new in a familiar setting, like a painting in a museum, your brain uses all these existing cues, the quiet room, the little plaque on the wall, to categorize it.
It knows what to do with the information.
It knows exactly what to do.
Yeah.
But in India, you're hit with a flood of completely unfamiliar stimuli all at once.
The sounds, the colors, the rituals, the social dynamics, the architecture.
All of it. It's a massive amount of high-density data coming at you, and you don't have the interpretive keys, the structure to sort through it.
Yeah.
Your brain is trying to write like 10 new software programs at once.
And it just crashes.
It leads directly to sensory exhaustion. That's what overwhelmed really is.
So the fatigue isn't a personal failing. It's a symptom.
Yeah.
And if a problem is a lack of structure, then the solution has to be guided interpretation, something that gives you that framework. That's the pivot. A deep dive journey isn't meant to shield you from the intensity. Not at all. It's meant to guide you through it slowly enough that you can actually understand what you're seeing.
Which brings us to the difference between just seeing something and really getting it.
Yes, seeing versus understanding. This is where the standard group tour model, it just can't keep up. It's built for speed and coverage, not for context.
And India, as the sources say, reveals itself through that context.
It's all context. It's about who you meet, how long you stay in one place, and whether you have someone there who can actively interpret what you're seeing, not just point at it.
There's a perfect analogy in the source material about visiting a temple. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, it's a great example. So the typical group tour visit to a temple. It's a time stop. You've got maybe 20 minutes.
Right. Shoes off, walk in, take a picture, walk out.
You've seen the temple, box checked, but the meaning, that's left entirely up to you, and you have no framework to grasp it.
Okay, so what's the alternative? The guided, immersive version of that same visit.
It's a total transformation. The guide stops being a timekeeper and becomes an interpreter. They don't just point at the idol, they explain why it faces east. They talk about the symbolism of the carvings, the purpose of the oil lamps being lit at dusk.
They explain the sounds.
The whole soundscape, the bells, the chants. They explain why that is just as important as the sculpture you're looking at. The sources even brought in this academic point from religious studies scholars.
What is that?
That Hindi temples are specifically designed to be experiential spaces. They're not museums. They're meant to be felt, to be participated in. They're living systems of meaning.
So adding all that context, all that information, counterintuitively, it makes the experience lighter, not heavier. Is that right?
It absolutely makes it lighter because your brain shifts from high stress mode, what does all this mean, to engaged comprehension, meaning reduces confusion. Understanding replaces spectacle. You're no longer bewildered, you're just engaged.
That makes so much sense. And if that structure is the key, then it totally redefines what we should even consider a luxury when we travel there.
Completely. We have to ditch the Western idea of luxury being about, high thread count sheets or private cars. The sources are unanimous on this. The single greatest luxury in India is time.
Time, not money.
Time.
Okay, so practically, what does that mean? How does simply slowing down make the trip better?
The tourism research on this is so clear. Slower itineraries lead to much better memory retention and emotional satisfaction.
Because things don't just blur together.
Exactly. When you pack, say, 8 different activities into one day, the whole week becomes one long, exhausting haze. But when you build space into the schedule, your brain has time to breathe, to file things away properly.
So you actually remember the details.
You remember the details, the conversations, the feeling of a place. It's
That's
the difference
so-
between coverage and depth. And that extra time allows for things a tight schedule just kills.
Like what specifically?
Like lingering in a market just to watch people, or going back to a place you loved at a different time of day just to see how the light changes, how the crowd shifts.
And the big one, being able to accept an unexpected invitation.
That's the key, that invitation for chai, the conversation that pops up with a shopkeeper. These are the most meaningful moments in India, and they are almost never on the schedule.
You have to notice them.
You have to notice them, and you need the freedom from that group schedule anxiety to say yes.
That brings us to what the sources call microcultural encounters. Because when you ask people what they remember months after a trip, it's rarely the architecture.
It's never the architecture. The paradox is you travel thousands of miles to see a giant fort, but what you remember is the small human interaction that happened in its shadow. Those are the stories that stick.
The sources gave some really vivid examples of these.
They did. Things like an unscripted chat with a textile artisan about how they make a certain dye, or the feeling of quiet inside a tiny village shrine that no tourist bus would ever stop at.
Or sharing a meal in someone's home.
Yes, that moment you shift from being a spectator to, even briefly, an accepted guest. You can't schedule that. It has to unfold.
And that's where private, personalized travel becomes so critical, right?
Right.
Because a guide can adapt to those moments.
Essential. A guide in this kind of setting becomes an interpreter who knows your interests. They're not giving a canned speech.
So if I'm into history, they'll focus on that. If you're into spirituality, they'll go deeper on the rituals.
Precisely. Educational psychology calls it personalized learning. It massively boosts comprehension because the information connects to what you already know. The guide helps you, as one source put it, read India the way locals do, layer by layer.
And that deeper reading, that's what sparks the final transformation.
It's a quiet shift, but it's profound. Places stop feeling like destinations you've just seen. They start to feel like relationships you've started to build.
And your language changes, your whole perception shifts.
It does. A city is no longer chaotic, it's complex. A ritual isn't exotic, it's intentional. A moment of silence isn't awkward, it's actually meaningful.
That's the heart of what they call transformational travel. It's moving away from consumption and towards connection.
And for a first-time visitor, that can be scary. There's so much anxiety about missing something.
The fear of missing out.
But the great irony is that rushing to see everything guarantees you miss the most important things, the deeper patterns, the context. The goal isn't to show you more of India in 2 weeks. It's to help you understand enough of India that you can't wait to come back.
You build a real connection. And that connection is what creates loyalty. You want to revisit a relationship.
And that's really the final thought from all of this. India is. It's like a text that's been written over millennia. It's contradictory, it's layered, it's so alive. And to read a text that complex, you just need patience. You need context.
The goal isn't to conquer it or decode it.
No, not at all. The goal is just to listen to it. And maybe, just for a moment, you get a sense that you've started to learn how it thinks.
From a spectator to a listener. That's a beautiful way to frame it. Thank you for walking us through all of this.
My pleasure.
If you decide to travel to India, we have a recommendation. Five Senses Tours organizes tours across India, which are immersive cultural experiences. You can email contact@fivesensestours.com. Note 5 is written as a numeral in contact@fivesensestours.com or WhatsApp 2 +919 845 677 446.